Beyond this world, there is a world I want. It is impossible to see two worlds, it is impossible. My mind holds only what I think with God. My mind holds only what I think with God. Beyond this world, there is a world I want. It is impossible to see two worlds, it is impossible. Well, hello, I'm Willie from the Ozarks. Thank you so much for joining me today on Thursday, May the 25th of 2023. We're studying lesson 145 in A Course in Miracles workbook for students. We're reading from the original edition, and it's review number 4, lesson 129, Beyond This World, There Is a World I Want, and 130. It is impossible to see two worlds. You can't see two worlds. It just reminds me of how everything's real clear in Jesus's way of seeing things. You're either awake or you're asleep. There's no in between. You're either in the world that the ego has to offer you or the one the Holy Spirit has to offer you. Anyway, we'll practice until we get it perfect. Be ye perfect, even as your Father in heaven is perfect. My mind holds only what I think with God. And yesterday I mentioned that take 5 minutes morning and evening. Take 5 minutes just with that idea. And then after that 5 minutes, then take as long as you want. Another 5 minutes would probably be reasonable. If you're one of those kind of people that likes to set your clock and do your practice, so that you have other things to do and you don't want to, with me, sometimes I'll spend, it depends on the day. I like to not have to set a clock. But some days I have the other things I have to go do, and I've got appointments that I've got to meet people. So I set my clock. Well, I don't set it for 5 minutes on these reviews. I'll set it for 10, maybe 15, or longer. But what I'm trying to say is, don't take just 5 minutes, because 5 minutes was you're supposed to spend that amount of time settling into the realization, my mind holds only what I think with God. And then use what time was made for to think of the other two ideas. Today being beyond this world, there is a world I want, and it is impossible to see two worlds. And then spend as long as you want. If you need to decide ahead of time how much time you're going to give yourself, I'd encourage you to give yourself another 5 minutes. So really what I should have said yesterday when I was closing, instead of taking your 5 minutes morning and evening, take 10 minutes. But he didn't tell us that. He let you choose the amount of time to spend. So you could get it by with maybe 5 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes at the very least. But probably a little longer, realistically. Give a little bit more time to the ideas. Beyond this world, there is a world I want, and it is impossible to see two worlds. Okay, I just wanted to make sure I made that clear. And, and I said tiara yesterday, and I think Jessica corrected me. I think she corrected me and said the word is tiara. So anyway, I'm not exactly sure if I'm still pronouncing it correctly. So if you're coming to these lessons because you want to learn really good English, probably not the best. If you want to learn how to escape the world entirely, this is a good place to come learn. Escape the pain and of the ego's perception. Escape death. Escape anger. The perception of guilt, which we're learning are the same thing. Anger is a result of the perception of guilt. Okay, so that'll be our lesson today. And hopefully you'll take this little tune that I sing. And I find myself, if I'll sing it a little bit in the morning, that throughout the day it just kind of rings in my ear. I don't have to work too hard to bring the memory of it. So I'd still encourage you to write it down on a card and keep it in your pocket. I have mine on my clipboard right now, and I'll fold it up and put it in my pocket for the day. And then at the end of the day, I unfold it and put it in a binder, so I've got it throughout the year. I put all my notes on it for the lessons, though. Okay, let's see. Let's go take a look in our text reading. And we're ready in chapter 15, the purpose of time, the holy instant, and the real relationship. The purpose of time is chapter 15, and the holy instant and real relationships is section 9. Okay, well, as you're turning there, let me tell you about a few things that are, first of all, what on earth is going on? African Liberation Day, Eat More Fruits and Vegetables Day, and we'll talk a little about, I got my spinach, one of my circles of spinach right here, that's since it's Eat More Fruits and Vegetables, spinach is, very good to eat. Matter of fact, I picked up, I came out and picked some, I got some Swiss chard and some Swiss chard. I usually pick the leaves that are damaged by insects first and eat those. And then I've got a little bit of broccoli here, and a lot of spinach in the bottom, some kale. So, just this time of year, it's easy to get your cool weather plants. We're going to talk about a particular spinach here in a minute called the Bokoboko spinach, which is a hot weather spinach, drought tolerant spinach. Geek Pride Day, for all you geeks, Geek Pride Day. National Brown Baggot Day. I thought we had one of those a few days ago. Got another one today. National Brown Baggot Day. National Missing Children Day. National Tap Dance Day. National Wine Day. And above my asparagus, you saw that piece of bamboo with something growing up there. Well, that's my grapes. And I forget what variety those are, but I think they were the ones you were looking at were probably, they were probably the Thompson, I'm pretty sure. And then Towel Day, which is a day to celebrate the late Douglas Adams, who wrote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which I heard Elon Musk saying that he thought that was a really good book. So anyway, for whatever that's worth to you. Let's see. Let's take a look at Boko spinach. Out of Baker's Creek Heirloom seeds, Boko spinach. And it's a Talinium triangular, opposed to regular spinach. And this variety I've got growing here is the long-standing Bloomsdale. And it's a Spinacia oleracea. Well, this Boko spinach, it's not a true spinach. It's not a Spinacia. It's a Talinium genus, triangular for the species. And it says of the Boko spinach, also known as waterleaf, this tasty and versatile green is one of the most drought and heat-tolerant edible plants we know. So it's a heat and drought-tolerant edible plant. The seeds of this variety were shared with us by Solomon Amuzu of Ghana. He detailed how this plant was one of the very few to survive this extreme drought that Ghana has experienced since the 1980s. The whole plant is edible from the tender stems to the leaves and flowers, used in salad, soups, stews, and baking. The Boko spinach. And see, I'll show you a picture right there above my fingers. See the little purple little flowers on it? It's a Boko spinach. So maybe we'll try to get some of that growing here for the, that's the problem with regular spinach, the Spinacia oleracea, that come hot weather, it kind of tends to die out. I've got another near-death experience I'd like you to take a look at, and it's on the other side, NDE, It's Robert Kopecki. And this man died 3 times, had 3 near-death experiences during his life so far. Some of the main thing that it sounded like it came back for him is stay in the present. You'll miss a lot of what you want in life if you leave the present, because the present is where, and of course that's what we're learning, is stay in the holy instant. The title is called Man is Shown the Truth About Karma During Shocking NDE. He also learned about how he's not a body and that love is always caring for us. Okay, so there you go on Robert Kopecki. Let's go take a look in our text reading. Hopefully the chickens, they sound like something's over there disturbing them, like maybe a snake. The holy instant and real relationships. The holy instant does not replace the need for learning, for the Holy Spirit must not leave you as your teacher until the holy instant has extended far beyond time. For a teaching assignment such as his, he must use everything in this world for your release. He must side with every sign or token of your willingness to learn of him what the truth must be. He is swift to utilize whatever you offer him on behalf of this. His concern and care for you are limitless. In the face of your fear of forgiveness, which he perceives as clearly as he knows forgiveness is release, he will teach you to remember that forgiveness is not loss, but your salvation, and that in complete forgiveness, in which you recognize that there is nothing to forgive, you are absolved completely. Let's look at that sentence again. In complete forgiveness, in which you recognize that there is nothing to forgive, you are absolved completely. Because what we're forgiven is our perception that there was that there's guilt, and we're not really letting them off the hook. We're looking at we are in the sense that we're looking at our own judgment and saying, well, hold it, that's not something that I need to judge against. Paragraph 80 in chapter 15. Hear him gladly and learn of him that you have need of no special relationships at all. You but seek in them what you have thrown away, and through them you will never learn the value of what you have cast aside, but what you still desire with all your hearts. Let us join together in making the holy instant all that there is by desiring that it be all that there is. God's Son has such great need of your willingness to strive for this that you cannot conceive of need so great. Behold the only need that God and his Son share and will to meet together. You are not alone in this. The will of your creations calls to you to share your will with them. Turn then in peace from guilt to God and them. Turn then in peace from guilt to God and your brothers and sisters. 81. Relate only with what will never leave you and what you can never leave. The loneliness of God's Son is the loneliness of his Father. Refuse not the awareness of your completion, and seek not to restore it to yourselves. Fear not to give redemption over to your Redeemer's love. He will not fail you, for he comes from one who cannot fail. Accept your sense of failure as nothing more than a mistake in who you are. Wow. Accept your sense of failure as nothing more than a mistake in who you are. For the holy host of God is beyond failure, and nothing that he wills can be denied. You are forever in a relationship so holy that it calls to everyone to escape from loneliness and join you in your love. And where you are, must everyone seek and find you there. 82. Think but an instant on this. God gave the Son to you to ensure your perfect creation. God gave the sonship to you to ensure your perfect creation. This was his gift. For as he withheld himself not from you, he withheld not his creation. Nothing that ever was created but is yours. Your relationships are with the universe. And this universe, being of God, is far beyond the petty sum of all the separate bodies you perceive. For all its parts are joined in God through Christ, where they become like to their Father. For Christ knows of no separation from his Father, who is his one relationship, in which he gives as his Father gives to him. 83. The Holy Spirit is God's attempt to free you of what he does not understand. And because of the source of the attempt, it will succeed. The Holy Spirit is God's attempt to free you of what God does not understand. And because of the source of the attempt, it will succeed. The Holy Spirit asks you to respond as God does, for he would teach you what you do not understand. God would respond to every need, whatever form it takes. Remember that. God would respond to every need, whatever form it takes. And so he has kept this channel open to receive his communication to you and yours to him. God does not understand your problem in communication, for he does not share it with you. It is only you who believe that it is understandable. 84. The Holy Spirit knows that it is not understandable, and yet he understands it because you have made it. So the Holy Spirit understands it. He understands it because we believe it. In him alone lies the awareness of what God cannot know and what you do not understand. It is his holy function to accept them both, and by removing every element of disagreement, to join them into one. He will do this because it is his function. Leave then what seems to you to be impossible to him, the Holy Spirit, who knows it must be impossible because it is the will of God. Oh, because it is possible. Let's read that again. Leave then what seems to you to be impossible to him who knows it must be possible because it is the will of God. And let him whose teaching is only of God teach you the only meaning of relationships. For God created the only relationship which has meaning, and that is his relationship with you. And the way I like to think of the Holy Spirit is it's the part of God that's in everyone, speaking to everyone. It's the reality in us in the midst of a dream, in the midst of a dream of guilt and separation. 85. As the ego would limit your perception of your brothers to the body, so would the Holy Spirit release your vision and let you see the great rays shining from them, so unlimited that they reach to God. It is this shift in vision which is accomplished in the holy instant. Yet it is needful for you to learn just what this shift entails, so you will become willing to make it permanent. Given this willingness, it will not leave you, for it is permanent. For once you have accepted it as the only perception you want, it is translated into knowledge by the part which God himself plays in the atonement. For it is the only step in it he understands. Therefore, in this there will be no delay when you are ready for it. God is ready now, but you are not. Wow. 86. Our task is but to continue as fast as possible the necessary process of looking straight at all the interference and seeing it exactly as it is, as an interference, a mistake in perception, really. For it is impossible to recognize as wholly without gratification what you think you want. Let's look at that sentence again. For it is impossible to recognize as wholly without gratification what you think you want. The body is the symbol of the ego, as the ego is the symbol of the separation. And both are nothing more than attempts to limit communication and thereby to make it impossible. For communication must be unlimited in order to have meaning, and deprived of meaning, it will not satisfy you completely. Yet it remains the only means by which you can establish real relationships. 87. Real relationships have no limits, having been established by God. In the holy instant where the great rays replace the body in awareness, the recognition of relationships without limits is given you. But to see this, it is necessary to give up every use the ego has for the body and to accept the fact that the ego has no purpose you would share with it. For the ego would limit everyone to a body for its purposes, and while you think it has a purpose, you will choose to utilize the means by which it tries to turn its purpose into accomplishment. This will never be accomplished. Yet you will have surely recognized that the ego, whose goals are altogether unattainable, will strive for them with all its might, and will do so with the strength which you have given it. 88. It is impossible to divide your strength between heaven and hell, God and the ego, and release your power unto creation, which is the only purpose for which it was given you. Love would always give increase. Limits are demanded by the ego, representing its demands to make little and ineffectual. Limit your vision of a brother to his body, which you will do as long as you would not release him from it, and you have denied his gifts to you. His body cannot give, and seek it not through yours. Yet your minds are already continuous, and their union need only be accepted, and the loneliness in heaven is gone. 89. If you would but let the Holy Spirit tell you of the love of God for you and the need your creations have to be with you forever, you would experience the attraction of the eternal. No one can hear him speak of this and long remain willing to linger here. For it is your will to be in heaven, where you are complete and quiet in such sure and loving relationships that any limit is impossible. Would you not exchange your little relationship for this? For the body is little and limited, and only those whom you would see without the limits the ego would impose on them can offer you the gift of freedom. What's our time? Okay, I think we're... You have no conception of the limits you have placed on your perception, and no idea of all the loveliness that you could see. But this you must remember: the attraction of guilt opposes the attraction of God. His attraction for you remains unlimited, but because your power being His is as great as His, you can turn away from love. What you invest in guilt, you withdraw from God. And your sights grow weak and dim and limited, for you have attempted to separate the Father from the Son and limit their communication. Seek not atonement in further separation, and limit not your vision of God's Son to what interferes with His release and what the Holy Spirit must undo to set Him free. For His belief in limits has imprisoned you. The last paragraph, 91. When the body ceases to attract you, and when you place no value on it as a means for getting anything, then there will be no interference in communication. When the body ceases to attract you, and when you place no value on it as a means for getting anything, then there will be no interference in communication, and your thoughts will be as free as God's. As you let the Holy Spirit teach you how to use the body only for purposes of communication, and renounce its use for separation and attack, which the ego sees in it, you will learn you have no need of a body at all. In the holy instant, there are no bodies, and you experience only the attraction of God. Accepting it as undivided, you join Him wholly in an instant. For you would place no limits on your union with Him. the reality of this relationship becomes the only truth that you could ever want. All truth is here. And I keep looking at the clock. Sorry, I have to get right up there in the camera to look, but the glare makes it hard for me to see. We want to enter that holy instant where we're not bodies, where we're in complete communication with the all that is. And so today, let's be sure to think about our idea. My mind holds only what I think with God. My mind holds only what I think with God. Beyond this world, there is a world I want. It is impossible to see two worlds. It is impossible. My mind holds only what I think with God. My mind holds only what I think with God. Beyond this world, there is a world I want. Beyond this world, there is a world I want. It is impossible to see two worlds. It is impossible. It is impossible to see two worlds. It is impossible. My mind holds only what I think with God. My mind holds only what I think with God. Beyond this world, there is a world I want. It is impossible to see two worlds. It is impossible. Thank you all so much for joining me and studying this, and to free ourselves from a world of pain by perceiving guilt, which results in anger, and to maintain our perfect calmness and peace as we abide in the Holy Spirit, realizing that my mind holds only what I think with God. Beyond this world, there is a world I want. And it is impossible to see two worlds.